My name is Tara. Some people call me Mama Sage. If you're new to my channel, I talk about my recovery process from drugs and alcohol, my life before I got clean and sober. And I've started branching out into doing some other stuff like crafting and hauls and that kind of stuff. So the main purpose of this channel is to help people understand what it's like to be in active addiction, and to offer hope for people that are struggling, because it doesn't have to stay that way. And sobriety, like recovery in general, is just a really, really beautiful experience. So for those of you who are returning subscribers, thank you for being here. I love you guys. I've had so much fun getting to know all of you, and just talking to everybody, and the support that you guys show me has been just amazing, just amazing. So if you like these videos, please subscribe down below. That's the best way that you can help support my channel. And also follow me on social media, share my videos, so bring awareness to recovery. Today we're going to be talking about domestic violence. And this is something that I've debated talking about, and I feel like it's the right thing for me to do, to share this part of my story with you guys. So let's get to it. I'm going to talk to you guys today about my first marriage and a series of events that happened that ultimately led to our divorce. This guy was awesome at first. Treated me like a queen. We got along really well. We liked to party together. He was a hard worker. I appreciated that because the kid's biological father was not. And so we got married after about 6 months. About a week before we got married, he punched a hole in the wall walking down the steps of his parents' basement. That was the first warning sign really that I had seen about his behavior. But at that point, the wedding was a week out, and I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? Just call it off? I think I was 23. Just made a really dumb choice. But that's part of my story. So, and whenever it happened, the first thought that I had was, how long is it going to be until that's me? So I knew, my intuition was telling me that things were going to get ugly. So moving forward, about a year and a half or so into the marriage, so at that point we've been together about 2 years, I started using bath salts, and things escalated really quickly. I would push him to get him away from me because I didn't want him to see that I was getting high behind his back. So I had guilt for a while that I initiated physical violence in our marriage. But things got to a point where it was so far past that it got really bad. So before we split up the first time, it was Christmas night, and the kids were staying with his parents for the night, and he wanted me to go and pick up some powder from the person that we were getting it off of. And I was over there for about an hour, and we had already been drinking. We were both drunk, and I went over there, and I come back and I don't have it. And I was blacked out for part of the time. So all I remember is that I went over there and he didn't have it. And I think he was like trying to get it. And I was like, can I wait? Like, and you know, like, are you going to get it soon? And then I went back over to the house. So I get over there and I don't have it. And he's like, what's going on? Like, he started accusing me of like sleeping with the dope boy. And I'm like, no, like his girl was there. Like, I'm not, like, he was really jealous. He was always really jealous. And I wasn't much better. We were just young and immature, so immature. And things escalated really quickly. My sister was staying with us at the time, and he had been like hitting me, slapping me, shoving me for about an hour. At that point, he had ripped my shirt. I was trying to get out of the house. I couldn't get away from him. And my sister gets there and she comes in, getting ready to go to her room, and she sees like what's going on, and she grabs me, and I go and get in her van, and we go to my mom and dad's house. And you know, we talk to mom and dad, and I tell them what happened, and I go and get in the shower, and I'm like, I just remember like crying in the shower. I hurt, everything hurt. I had bruises all over the place. And so I packed up my stuff, and the kids and I moved out of the house for about a week. And I told him that he needed to go to AA, and he needed to, like, I was like, the only thing I knew was like, you need to get sober and then everything will be okay. So he went to meetings for about a week, and then, or maybe about 2 weeks, the kids and I went back to the house, and, you know, he and I kind of got back together or whatever. And about a week after we moved back in, he stopped going to meetings again. So moving on from that, like a couple of months later, or a few months later, is when I got sober for the first time, because I figured, okay, if he won't get sober on his own, then I'll get sober. And, you know, and he'll see like what a great life I'm living, and he'll want to get sober too. And then, you know, everything will be happy. And it didn't work out that way. So we had split up for about 9 months, and we got back together right around the following Christmas. And within about 3 months of us getting back together, I had a black eye. He became resentful over feeling trapped by me and the kids. And I told him, you know, if you don't want to be together, I already moved out. You begged me to come back. Here I am. So if you don't want to be together, you need to move, because I'm not uprooting these kids again. And about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months later, I had another black eye. So basically over the last year or year and a half, about a year and 3 months that we were together, I had 3 black eyes. I had to go to work like that. He promised that he would change. He swore that he was sorry. We were fighting like cats and dogs. It got to the point where, like, obviously I had started drinking again, because I'm like, well, if he's not going to get sober, then why do I need to be sober? But I quickly realized that I had made a huge mistake and I shouldn't be drinking. But at that point, then I'm using it as an anesthetic. I decided that about a week or so, about a week before we ultimately like had the last cataclysmic fight, I had decided that I was leaving. And I was in a place where I had already called I called the women's shelter a couple of times. I had to go to the hospital one time because I had a really bad concussion. And I want to say my sister was with me, but I can't remember. there's a lot of like fog around like that period of my life. I know that it got bad enough that my parents were not answering their phones. They were turning their phones off on Sundays because we had a habit of getting drunk all weekend, and it would end like on Sunday after like early afternoon with us like fighting. I was very verbally abusive, and that was my thing, like more than anything. And it's not okay. And I'm here to tell you right now that like I played a part in the whole situation, and I was not innocent at all. I always said that if I was willing to like walk up to you and hit you like a man, that I better be expecting to get hit back like a man, by a man. And I believe that. And I absolutely believe that domestic violence can be a two-way street. I absolutely believe that women can be the perpetrators. I don't think that either of us were completely innocent in this situation. I think that we both had a hand in it. The whole relationship was extremely volatile. About a week before we split up, what prompted me to decide that I was ready to leave was that normally the kids weren't home whenever things would get physical between us. We would yell, and I'm sure that was scary for them. They've been to therapy. We've talked about it. But they were never there to see the physical altercations until this time. And he got mad about something, go figure. And I was trying to go to work, and he's like, well, I'm not going to watch the kids. And I didn't want him to watch the kids anyway, so I was going to take them to my parents' house, and I'm trying to get my stuff ready to leave the house. And he's mad at me, and he had like ripped open a scab and just like wiped it all over me, and he's holding me. He's got me like in a chokehold on the couch, and the kids are there and they can see what's going on, and he's like wiping his blood on me. And finally we were able to get out of the house. The kids and I were able to get out of the house. And after work that day, I talked to my parents, and I was like, look, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And so I was starting to put plans in motion to be able to leave. The final day that, the final time that he and I got into a physical altercation was St. Patrick's Day, 2013. And yeah, 2013. And he wanted to go out drinking. We were going to go drinking with some friends. And he was supposed to wait on me. We were going to go and have a couple of drinks, and then we were going to go back to the house because the kids were going to be home from school. And, we were just going to go and have a couple of drinks early in the afternoon, and I should have known that it wasn't going to be that simple. So he went ahead and started drinking early. I got done at work around noon, and I went home and I changed clothes, and I went to this bar that they were at, about maybe 15-20 minutes away from the house. It wasn't very far. So at this point, like, it's probably not even 1 o'clock. Or it's right about 1 o'clock. So I get there, and I'm there for about 2 hours, and I had 2 beers and a shot while we were there. I don't know how much he had been drinking. I knew that I had to drive home, so I didn't want to drink like a whole lot because I had to drive home to the kids. And I still had the whole evening ahead of me. So we leave, and he's mad. He's upset because I said that I wanted to go to the Moose Lodge and go see my parents, and that they were having corned beef and cabbage, and I wanted to take the kids over there, and we were gonna have dinner. Well, he had a problem with my dad. Of course, my dad had a problem with him, and so he's mad and he's yelling. The kids get home from school, and they go inside and they put their book bags away, and I'm trying to get ready and leave, and I'm trying to reason with him. He's angry. He doesn't want us to leave. He's just being weird and jealous, and so I told the kids were like, "Can we go outside and play?" And I said, "Yeah, go ahead," because I just wanted them like away from the situation. And so they go outside to play with their friends, and I'm standing there and I'm trying to reason with him, and he's not listening, and he's just drunk and angry. And he starts to shove me, and he's calling me names, and he threw me into the couch, and then he threw me into the coffee table. And I had called the police already several times whenever he and I had gotten into an altercation, because I was tired of it and I wanted things to be over. But I just didn't want to uproot the kids again. They had already been through enough, and I didn't want them to have to like leave their home again. So whenever I called the local police previously, they told me, well, you have marks, he's got marks. So basically, like, we can either take you guys both to jail and let the judge sort it out, or he can go to his mom and dad's house and you guys can go to bed and, just try to work things out in the morning. And so I always picked that option because I didn't want to lose my job. I needed to be able to work. I couldn't pay bills if I didn't have a job, and I couldn't keep a job if I was going to jail. So that was just, my thought process at the time. So essentially, I'd been told that if we both had marks on us, that I had no recourse unless I wanted to go to jail too. And since I felt like that wasn't an option for me, I didn't go that route. So the last time, whenever he starts shoving me and stuff, I'm just like, can you please just stop? And I'm begging him, can you please just stop? Like, can we just talk? Like, what's going on? And of course he was just in no condition to be reasoned with. He threw me down on the floor, and he was punching me in the face. He was punching me like in the forehead, and I had a black eye, and I've got pictures, so I will post pictures of what I looked like whenever the police came. And so he's like smashing my head against the wood floor and punching me in the face repeatedly. And at one point, I just wanted to die. I just wanted it to be over because I was so tired and so worn out, and I was, of course, concussed. I'm dizzy, and I was just so broken. At that point, I was just so broken. And it was like I got this surge of energy, and I started laughing at him, and I said, you know what? I'm going to put you in jail, and you're never going to be able to hurt another woman. I was wrong about that. He did hurt another woman. He hurt at least one other woman after me, but that's his story. So after about 3 hours of us, going around and around the living room and kitchen, like me trying to get away from him and trying to get to the door, and like my phone is dead and my keys are on the coffee table, and I finally make it out the door, and I get in the car and I yell at the kids. I'm like, get in the car. And I locked all three of us in the car, And so he couldn't get in because he didn't know where my keys were. And, of course, he's still drunk and he's yelling at me and he's like, get out of the car, get out of the car. And I'm like, no, like, I'm not getting out of the car. Like, I'm not letting you touch me again. And he's like, well, you can't take the kids. You've been drinking, you're drunk, you can't drive with the kids. I'm going to call the police on you. And I was like, all right, bet. Like, go ahead, please do. Like, I literally looked at him and I'm like, you know what? Please do call the police. Go ahead. So he does, because he's drunk and not thinking clearly. And so they get there and they see me and the kids in the car and they see him up on the steps and they take one look at me. And the police officers, I was well acquainted with both gentlemen. They've been to the house several times. And the one officer came over and he's like, you unlock the door. And I unlocked the door and I opened it and he was like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm here. And he's like, are you, like, do you have bruises? Are you okay? Like, he could see, like, my face was already swollen. And I showed him, like, my other bruises. And he said, well, I'm glad that you're okay and hang tight. And so he went up, I locked the door again, and he went up to talk to the other officer, who I'm pretty sure was his superior. And they talked away from him for a couple of minutes, and then I don't think it was even a couple of minutes. I think it was about 30 seconds. And they went ahead and they put him in handcuffs, and he's like, what's going on? I didn't do anything. And so the kids and I are able to get out of the car, and I go in the house and they took pictures. Like I said, I'll put pictures up. I was so happy to be alive, and I was mad at him and mad at myself. Just like I said before, I just felt really burnout. I just felt really tired. And I had powder in my system from a couple of days before that. So I didn't want to go to the doctor and get checked for a concussion because, once again, I've got drugs in my system and I don't want to, have them find that and, like, I'm there, and it was just a big mess. So I never got checked for a concussion, but I can tell you that I was dizzy for about 2 weeks afterward. I would try to, like, turn around at work and I would feel like I was about to faint. I would stand up and I would, like, from sitting or crouching or whatever, like getting something out of a reach-in cooler at work or whatever, and I would stand up and I would, like, feel lightheaded. It was really bad. I had a really bad concussion. And so after they took him to jail, he goes to jail, and then he gets out the next day after his arraignment, and his parents are going to pick him up. And he calls me. And he's like, I'm sorry. I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. Like, I'll do anything. Baby, please. And I was like, you're not supposed to be contacting me. And I just hung up. And I immediately called the police department, and I was like, look, like, he just got out of jail. I don't think he's even left the workhouse yet, and he's calling me right now. Like, he's already violating the protection order, and I don't think he's even been picked up from the workhouse. And so they came and took a report and went to his parents' house and picked him up. And I haven't heard from him since then, other than, to deal with the divorce. And I was able to get a victim's advocate from the Franklin County Courthouse, and they helped me. The whole divorce was pro bono. I was very, very grateful. It took a while to get everything completed, but little over 2 years after the fact, we were finally divorced. I wish that I hadn't stayed as long as I did. I wish that I hadn't given him as many chances as I did. I know that everything works out how it's supposed to, and I know that I had to go through what I had to go through, but I wish more than anything that my kids hadn't had to go through what they went through. You know, counseling has been great. My husband is a dream. He's amazing, and he treats all of us like gold. And so now they finally know what having a real dad, like a really good father, is like. And that's probably the biggest gift that I've gotten from my sobriety. Like, the greatest gift that I've gotten from my sobriety is the fact that, like, my children have two really stable parents that love them, and we're able to show them what a healthy relationship and a healthy marriage is supposed to look like. And I just hope that if you're in the same situation, you don't stay like I did. It's so much harder on the kids. I thought that staying was going to protect them from losing another, you know, father figure. And ultimately, like, he was a horrible father figure. So they weren't really losing out on anything. But I felt bad that they had already lost their biological father to drugs and alcohol. He just wasn't in their lives, still isn't. And, you know, I didn't want them to lose another dad, I guess. That's the best way that I can explain it. You know, you think that you're doing the right thing in the moment. We make the best decisions that we can with the information that we have at the time. So I'm going to link some resources for domestic violence women's shelters down below. Please reach out if you're in this situation. You don't have to stay. There are places where you can go that no one will be able to find you. They can offer you food, clothing, shelter. You can go back to school. You can find a new job. They can help you find a house, all kinds of stuff. Like, there are so many resources out there if you're willing, you know, and I just wasn't willing until I was. So, if this video helped you, or if you could identify with what I had to say, please subscribe to my channel. The best way that you can support my channel is to subscribe and to share my videos. So I appreciate you guys for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah.